Watching TVC Breakfast. Well, it's been over 9 months now since the unfortunate incident of the 21-story building collapse in the Ikoyi part of Lagos State, claiming over 40 lives. And this included the death of the owner of the property. During the analysis into what went wrong, a Coroner, Chief Magistrate OyetadeKomolafe, attributed the collapse to negligence by relevant state agencies responsible for the approval and supervision of the project. He also noted that in his findings, the supervising agencies deliberately failed to carry out their functions because they were already compromised. Chief Magistrate Komolafe also held that the building's density and setback on the site showed gross violations of the Lagos State building regulations. He stated that the project board, which should have boldly shown the sensitive and important information of the names and addresses of the professionals who carried out the project, were deliberately not provided. The court also held that there was no quality control and poor project management on the site, and that the building structure failure was due to the design errors and combined stress failure of the columns at the lower floors. Joining us now to analyze these issues is operations partner, Phase Plus Property Development Consortium Limited, architect Akinola George. Good morning and welcome to TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.
Looking at the magistrate's findings, still, doing the kind of a post-mortem on that ghastly, that terrible incident, what do you make of, these findings, especially the issue of compromise on the part of the Lagos State officials?
Well, I'm the immediate past president of Building Collapse Prevention Guild, and we've been here and in so many media outlets to say that to emphasize on these compromises, and not only on the part of government officials, on the part of quite a number of operatives in the building industry, So we've hammered on this issue so many times. We've said, government officials are not doing enough. Where they are doing enough, we have said that there are some saboteurs, in government who, one way or the other, are not allowing the system to function. Of course, we know our problems about corruption and stuff like that. But that report itself did not go far enough because, apart from government officials, we are yet to know who the professionals were. Who are the professionals involved? And at the same time, this project was carried out by a limited liability company. And a limited liability company is not just Femi or Shibona alone. It's not just the man that built the house alone. It's more than two people that should make up, a limited liability company shareholder structure. So you have more people who are faceless. Nobody came to say anything. Even the people that subscribed to the structure before it collapsed. Some people subscribed. That's how it got to that level.
Yes, they paid.
Yes, nobody knows anything about them. So the inquiry has not gone far enough. The inquiry is a bit superficial as far as I'm concerned. And still a lot of work that we need to do to be able to really re-engineer the systemic problems that we keep having. Because the problem is not just government. Government is on its own, is highly compromised in so many areas. But you can see they are really trying to work, especially since they are collaborating with BCPG. They are collaborating with the professionals.
That's where you served. The building collapse deal that you talked about.
I'm the immediate past president.
Right.
So they are collaborating with us. They are calling us to try and make sure that they identify, recognize, and rectify all these problems that officials are deficient in.
Right.
So what you are saying is that when the Lagos State governor allowed this inquiry into it, he has shown the transparency on the side of government, but even the report is have not shown transparency on the side of the professional.
Not exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
No.
No, in terms of when you said There's so many people who were
Questions,
involved,
right.
who don't know a lot about them, who had to do with the building, who had to do with the design, who had to do with the construction, and all of them. Those are professional levels and so on. Why is that?
What I'm saying is that the report itself
Yes, did not do that. That's what I'm saying.
is not robust enough to cover all these areas. For example, number one, the professionals that were involved with the construction.
Yes.
The professionals, the architects, the engineers,
Exactly, that's what I'm
mechanical
saying.
and electrical engineers.
Yes.
So who are they?
Exactly.
The report should come out with that. These are the people. And if they are found culpable, they should be indicted.
Why do you think that's the case that they didn't mention that? Is it because
I don't know.
because they are professionals, they want to cuddle their own?
No. The report
Yes.
is produced by the magistrate.
The court.
Yeah.
The court.
Yeah.
The court should have unraveled that.
Yes.
That's number one. Number two.
But the court did not act alone. They
There
also
the
were
court called
parties,
us.
there were
That's
witnesses.
what I'm
Yes. So
saying.
what was
The court called
what was
us.
the level of your involvement at the inquiry?
Exactly.
Yeah, we went there as observers,
As a
invitees,
as a witness.
witnesses. Yeah, we went there, and the report said that it adopted the submission of the Nigerian Institute of Structural Engineers.
Yes.
Nigerian Institute of Structural
Correct,
Engineers.
yeah.
Yes, and Coroner, sorry.
Correct. Yeah.
So that is the level of our involvement as professionals. But I'm talking about the professionals that did the construction, that did the design and the construction. The report is not robust
There
enough
should be
to
an
cover that.
umbrella body for those groups too, like body of architects, body of is it quantity surveyors?
Yes,
or so on,
yes.
and so on. Was there no involvement?
What I'm saying, the Femi Oshibono, the company that midwife the project, employed some professionals. And these professionals, we don't know them.
That's what I'm saying. That all these professionals still fall under some kind of professional umbrella.
Bodies.
So they should
and
still
so
be
on.
made to be
Those
liable
ones should
somehow.
also have been involved in this thing to say, okay, we are in charge of quantity surveyors. Where are the people there? What did they do wrong? Who are those? Let us also put their feet to fire.
You can only
Unfortunately.
act that way when you know who is involved. An inquiry is supposed to find all those out because as far as NIA is concerned, we don't know the architect.
Okay, so what next with this limbo or with this unanswered questions? What next for the body, the building collapse body that you mentioned, where you once headed? With this lingering questions, is there any way that we can get more clarity on these unresolved issues?
Well, we've been pushing since 2011 to re-engineer the systemic problems. We will keep pushing, coming here, even though I'm not representing the body, but at the same time, I'm talking as a professional and somebody that has been involved with trying to rectify the issue of collapses in the country. So we'll keep pushing. We'll keep asking questions. We'll keep conducting all these investigative activities that we've been conducting and keep up our advocacy, because we are powerless. We are just an advocacy group, and we'll keep pushing that wall until it collapses.
I think you need to assess for us the level of professional input in buildings like this, so people will know the extent to which the culpability lies in the hands of the professional.
Okay. There was a time I said the building procurement process is faulty. How do you procure a building? Okay, you have an idea of what you want to do, so you get together a group of professionals, architects, engineers, quantity surveyors, and so on and so forth. They put the building out there for you in design format. Once the design is already agreed on between you and the professionals, then you can start getting government to approve that particular edifice. So you have the client, you have the professionals, you have government. All these processes have to be thoroughly followed, thoroughly adhered to, for you to be able to do, for you to be able to start construction. once you start construction, government is still involved. They have to continue to maintain an oversight function over the process. Every step of the construction process should be monitored by LAPCA. In Lagos State, for example, Lagos Building Control Agency. So every step is supposed to follow an approval before it goes to the next one. If these ones are followed and meticulously so, then you can begin to have sanity in the construction industry. Otherwise, you continue to have collapses. Building procurement and the process of building procurement is vital. Now we must adhere by the step-by-step approach to procuring buildings.
A disaster as the Ikoyi, the 21-story collapse, it just, kind of, differentiate the evils that, many unknowing or innocent residents are facing. First, on the one hand, is the devil or the evil of living in an old structure, and then you see a new structure and you never could tell, what the building was like. And we'll get to that in a moment. But looking still on the Femi Oshi-born personality, unfortunately, some of the answers that perhaps we could have gotten died with him because we may not unearth this. But with this indicting of officials and, who knows, there could be more people. What are we going to see? Are we likely to see like a form of prosecution of persons behind these bodies that were said to have been compromised? Shouldn't we get to that level?
We should. We should. I mean, if there are compromises or if there are what I would call negligence, on the part of government officials, they should be brought to book. That's the way it works, or that's the way it should work if we intend to have results. Otherwise, if you sweep everything under the carpet, you have not indicted the professionals who got involved in the construction process. You have not indicted you have mentioned that, okay, government was negligent. Which part of government? Who are the individuals that were in charge as at that time? You have to unearth all this. Once you do that, then we now know individuals, and then you follow a legal process of prosecution. Prosecution and punishment. It's only when you punish that you can set an example and you set a lesson for people to follow. Otherwise, we will continue to paper over all these cracks. Another building will collapse tomorrow.
Apparently, we are not ready for the prosecution yet because you have to get a full picture of culpability first before you start prosecution. So this report itself does not lend itself to justice in that regard.
Mm. Well, maybe. Maybe.
All right. So talking about, lessons learned, I don't know, can we also get some clarity in that regard? What more concerns were you able to, deduce from, the collapse, the incidents of building collapse or collapsed buildings that we have recorded in Lagos, looking beyond compromise, alleged compromise of agencies and all that on the part of the professionals and even on the part of, other people who work on building projects as that? What other areas should we be looking at?
Well, we have quite a long list of things that we should look at when we are talking about procurement of buildings. In this particular case, you notice that there was no there was a billboard. I mean, what should be by the side of the site before, to state out the ownership of the building, is that what it's called? The professional, yeah,
the project board.
Yes,
okay.
The board. So the ownership of the building itself, and the various professionals and their addresses and contact details. This was not done. So this is a major lesson. That for every building coming up, there should be that project board. Because that project board says a lot, even though it's so innocuous. But it says a lot about whatever it is, and whoever it is that are involved in the process, I mean in the building construction. Number two is that government cannot be unrelenting in its assignment to ensure that buildings are properly procured. Government officials We know who we are. We are all Nigerians here, you know, and the country will continue to fail further until you get certain things right. If you don't get the details of, to ensure that the professionals involved are qualified, and that a chemical engineer is not a structural engineer in a building, like what happened in a synagogue, you know? So you must ensure that the right professionals are doing the actual jobs they are assigned to do. And that by the time the approval is sought and gotten, the approval is not procured through some underhand deals.
Now, out of the issue of training and negligence, who can say there's corruption, there's all of that. But what is the quality of our professionalism? Because that itself is very important. There have been issues about some people not being competent and they put the round pegs in the square holes or vice versa. And that could be a factor. People tend to see that, well, people seem to be emphasizing maybe corruption, going under the table and stuff like that. But what of the competency of these people who were given the task to do? What is the level of it? What are the professional bodies doing to safeguard at least minimalism in professionalism, to make sure that if you are not ready for this, don't do it. If you are not well trained, don't do it. If you are not qualified, don't do it. Yeah. How do you monitor? Did anybody did the professionals know? Because there's a limit to which government can do in this regard. The professional bodies know whether that quantity surveyor that was sent there, that architect, that designer, that electrical man, engineer, all of those things, those people were not good enough for it. Especially now that we use, and Shibona was known to have done that, they use people from outside the country who are not even trained, who are not certified.
Okay. I can tell you, you know, for free, that...
This is for free. I have no money to give
free.
you.
That over 80% of the buildings going up don't have trained professionals working on them. You'll be shocked to know that if you take a cursory assessment of Lagos State, for example, most of the buildings coming up are not done by professionals. Not designed by architects, no structural engineering work. People just go to sites, dig this place and start construction. They will call one Babasikira to come and build. They will call maybe somebody who says I can design. They put lines together, submit it to town planning, and get somebody to, do you understand? A lot of horrible things going on. So most of the time, when you talk about professionals, our professionals are properly trained. I spent 7 years to become an architect. 7 years of hard work, hard training at IFE. Great, sir, great. And I know quite a number of my colleagues that went through the mill. So our professionals are properly trained. And even if you are not, if you one way or the other got your degree in a funny way, by the time you do the professional courses, you do the professional that that will certify you. It will tell. And you'll be seen as a failure, maybe 1 or 2 projects, it will just expose you. So the professionals are not the fault with the system. But the fact that the professionals are excluded, these are people that are trained to put together buildings. They are trained for that purpose, but you are not employing them for that purpose. This particular building we're talking about, we cannot identify a Nigerian architect till now. So who put the building together? Who are the structural engineers? Who are the mechanical, electrical engineers involved?
But let me ask, now talking about architects, now just like we say Nigeria is under-policed, is there a feeling, there could be a feeling that people would opt for the unprofessional architects, quote and unquote, because there may not be enough of architects around? Is there room for Is that a valid reasoning
No,
at all?
it's not valid. There are more than enough architects. The architects are there, but then, you know, they are not being sought after. But there's a legislation for that, that says before your building can come to the town planning authority, you must have an architect on it. So most of these buildings that go for approval must have an architect. So which is why
so how do they scale the process?
Which is why we're going back. Which is why we're going back to the report, to the magistrate's report. The professionals should be identified. If I'm the one that was involved, I know Femi Oshibono personally, I knew him. Do you understand? So if my firm is the firm of architects that was involved, then indict me or indict my firm. Let us know which architect, which engineers, which quantity surveyors, which land surveyors, and town planner, whatever were involved. These are the names. That is how to do a proper inquiry.
Okay, so what has changed?
Sorry, madam. Sorry, right, please. Okay, you do a blanket. You do a blanket indictment. The government officials. Which government official? Which department? So all these are things that should be clearly laid out if we want to be honest with our inquiry. Otherwise, we are jokers.
What has changed in terms of monitoring? Sam was asking earlier about capacity for professionals, and you have alluded that that may not be the problem, but even capacity of our government officials, how abreast are they, and what has even changed in terms of monitoring in the field work that you have gone, in the work that you have done so far, especially when you look at happenings after the Ikoyi incident? Has anything changed?
Yes. I can tell you, again, for free. He's not listening.
Very important.
For free.
For free.
I can tell you.
I'm trying to see whether I can get some money.
You know, our advocacy led to the government officials in Ogun State properly engaging all professionals in the built environment to continue to be involved with monitoring. It became official. It was properly launched by the Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development in Ogun State. Recently in Lagos State, you will know that some 5 to 6 buildings were marked for demolition.
Right. Yes.
Which is now preemptive. Formerly, they used to wait for things to happen. Now, they are pulling down buildings before they constitute a menace.
Now, that's a very important one. There are two questions. So one, I want you to talk to the issue of poverty and buildings, and staying in buildings and building demolition. If the government were going about saying, this building were not ready, demolition. I'll cut you, I'll bring you down, they will say the government is anti-people. Now, maybe the people always want to see things bad happen before they will say, okay, we're now listening to you. I know that Lagos State governments and governors in the past have always been talking about the fact that some buildings are not supposed to be there. But when you bring one down, people will say you are trying to deprive them of a place to stay, a place to live. Even when you say, okay, even though you can say, we need to bring this down, we have an alternative for you, and so on, they will say, oh, we don't. Tell us the interaction between tragedy and knowledge.
Okay, between poverty and buildings.
Building, tragedy
and knowledge. Okay, you see, architecture can best function in a booming economy because you need to have people who, you need to have money to be able to procure a building. And if you don't have money, you go ahead to procure a building anyway, you are going to compromise certain steps. So quite a number of people, you should cut your coat according to the cloth that you have. If you want to build a 10-story building and you have money for only 2, why don't you just go for 2? So most people overreach themselves. Secondly, most of the people that we have trying to procure buildings, trying to put together buildings, want to do that without going through the process of approval. So they sidestep, the
Cut
approval
corners.
process. Yes, cut corners, and then put up the building anyway, which becomes a menace to the society. Number 3 is the issue of what I would call the tantalizing allure that I want to be like this. I want to build like what the next man built. You don't have the money. You can't go through the approval process.
Peer pressure.
Yeah, peer pressure. Now, you have the government itself in pulling down any building. Let me jump to that. They conduct an integrity analysis on the building before they put it down. They want to put it down.
Yeah.
So it's a scientific endeavor. It's not. It doesn't have anything to do with whether I pity you or I like you, I don't like you. It's a scientific endeavor. This building doesn't have.
But we're living in a cultural environment when they say,
Sir,
"Oh, they are
all those
building down
ones-
our buildings where they don't want us to live."
Sir,
the government does not like us,
those
so
homeless.
they don't want us
all
to be
those
homeless.
ones-
So,
all those ones pale into insignificance when it comes to loss of lives.
yes, that's why I came to the
Yes.
point that now that they've seen what happened in Ikoyi with the thing coming down, they won't have anything to say now because. But if prior to that, they'll say, that's why I'm saying that culture itself is a very terrible thing.
It is.
Culture, and also the fact that they believe that if you tell them we want to bring down the building, if you don't bring it down, they say, I don't leave it. Or I said the building will come down. I say, no, that is not my portion. We are put anointing. Because we also saw that Oshibono was seen praying on top of the building.
But it came down.
But it came down. So that's the point I'm saying. What's the role of culture and poverty? We use poverty, we hide under culture, and then we still live ourselves the way we are.
Right. By the way, you've also said, okay, still on the issue, you'll get to that too, but you've also spoken about, and my takeaway from what you've said is that, this is a matter of security of lives and property. So naturally, one would expect that government will come down however way, of course, after due communication and all, because there were issues of, people not being told before government now comes to bring that building. I don't know if that is also being considered in the future, but now and even in the future. But again, we understand you are also working on an app because we've run out of time and we'll soon end this interview. We hear that you have an app you're working on to enhance security in the state. Oh,
no. That one is beyond, is not...
This conversation, right?
Yes, but of course I can quickly mention it.
Right.
The security of lives and properties in the country, not just on buildings. Now, we're talking about how, robbers, bandits, all kinds of characters are just compromising our lives, coming over to attack people at various places. So we developed, in conjunction with some of our colleagues, all over the world, we came up with something that would preempt such events happening. Something that will preempt such events happening. For example, somebody is in the village, is on the farm, and some people come over there to come and attack, rape, kill, or whatever. All you need to do is on your Android phone, you can press a particular SAS button. This particular app is downloadable on Google Play, or Apple, whatever. So you can download it, and immediately you press on that. People that have been trained, like vigilantes, Amotekun, and all those other ones can come in.
Can be summoned.
Yeah, they can be summoned on the spot of the moment because they are present in every ward.
That's what we're saying, that our people, our governments know about all of these technologies. They just don't want to use them. That's what we're saying.
Well, this is applicable to you.
But since you don't have much
Okay.
time, you said you know Oshibono personally. Can you tell us one or two things that we need to know about the fellow?
Can you make it brief? Because
Brief,
we have
yes.
a few
Yeah,
seconds
well,
left.
one day or so, he got to know about, me, and he came to my office, and he wanted to buy a property around where, around somewhere that I was working in. That's all.
All right.
And that's the discussion we had.
All right. Well, may the souls of all those who perished in that incident rest in peace.
Amen.
And we hope we have indeed become wiser and we'll do the needful. Everyone indeed has a role to play. All right, thank you so much, Architect OyetadeKomolafe, for speaking with us on TVC.
Akinola George.
Akinola George, absolutely. My apologies, I mixed your name with that of the magistrate. Akinola George, thank you so much for speaking with us on TVC Breakfast.